Hello, this is Shmuel Moshe, and you are listening to the Weekly Parashahcast, the weekly Torah portion podcast where I read the weekly Torah portion and then provide my own interpretation of what I think it all means. This week's portion is Parashat Pinchas, falling on the 21st of Tammuz, 5784, July 27th, 2024. It translates to Phineas, the character Pinchas, right, by name, the individual, son of Eleazar, and we'll be jumping right in at chapter 25 of Bamidbar, verse 10. As always, you can follow along in English on Chabad.org. And as always, I'd like to remind everybody I'm not a professional Torah scholar, just somebody who wanted to study the Torah. Without further ado, let's begin. First portion of Parashat Pinchas, chapter 25 of Bamidbar, verse 10. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Phineas the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the Kohen, has turned my anger away from the children of Israel by his zealously avenging me among them, so that I did not destroy the children of Israel because of my zeal. Therefore, say, I hereby give him my covenant of peace. It shall be for him and for his descendants after him as an eternal covenant of kehunah, because he was zealous for his God and atoned for the children of Israel. The name of the Israelite man who was killed, who was slain with the Midianite woman, was Zimri, the son of Salu, the chieftain of the Simeonite paternal house. And the name of the Midianite woman who was slain was Cosbi, the daughter of Zur, a national leader of a paternal house in Midian. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Distress the Midianites, and you shall smite them. For they distress you with their plots which they contrived against you in the incident of Peor and in the incident of Cosbi their sister, the daughter of the Midianite chieftain, who was slain on the day of the plague that had come because of Peor. Chapter 26, verse 1. It was after the plague that the Lord spoke to Moses and to Eleazar the son of Aaron the Kohen, saying, Take a census of all the congregation of the children of Israel for 20 years old and upwards, following their fathers' houses, all that are fit to go out to war in Israel. Moses and Eleazar the Kohen spoke with them in the plains of Moab by the Jordan at Jericho, saying, From the age of 20 and upward, as the Lord commanded Moses and the children of Israel who had come out of Egypt. All right, that's the end of the first portion. So, continuing off of last week's episode, it starts off with a direct continuation of the actions committed by Pinchas, and as we note last time, the Israelite ran with a Midianite woman ran before them as they were all mourning in front of the tent of meeting. And I had previously described it as perhaps they had run into the tent of meeting itself because of the language that was used. However, it may just be that they ran into his tent. So I did want to clarify that based on last week's Torah portion. It may have not been the tent of meeting that they ran into, but instead this man's personal tent as a chieftain. Now, I do want to also make an important distinction here, but I also had mentioned that it seemed like perhaps this was some sort of elaborate plot. And knowing who this woman is, Cosbi, the son or the daughter of Zur, this is a very significant thing. So she could be considered to be a noblewoman, a national leader of a paternal house in Midian, right? So she is a very high-ranking Moabite woman, and she was caught with this Israelite man. So I would not be surprised if, based on this, the theory I had posited last week that this was an intentional ploy by the Moabites to invoke the wrath of God upon Israel was indeed the case, as provoked by her own father or the others of Moab, saying, well, what can we do to get God off of their side? We have to do something that'll provoke God's anger. So Pinchas, in his quick thinking, managed to stop God from being angry by demonstrating his zealousness and love of God by rebuking these people by killing them. And so because of this, God rewards his bloodline forevermore for having done so. Now with this, we continue on to the next chapter where Moses and Eleazar are told that a census will be taken from all men 20 years and up, following their fathers' houses that are fit to go to war in Israel. And this is what happens there. We now go into the second portion, chapter 26. Bamidbar, verse 5. Reuben, Israel's firstborn. The descendants of Reuben were the family of the Hanochites from Hanoch, the family of Peluites from Palu, the family of the Hezronites from Hezron, and the family of Carmites from Carmi. These were the families of the Reubenites, and they numbered 43,730. The sons of Palu were Eliab. The sons of Eliab were Nemuel, Datan, and Abiram. They are Datan and Abiram, the chosen of the congregation, who incited against Moses and Aaron in the assembly of Korach, when they incited against the Lord. And the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them in Korach, when that assembly died, and when fire destroyed 250 men, and they became a sign. Korach's sons, however, did not die. The descendants of Simeon according to their families, the family of the Nemuelites from Nemuel, the family of the Jaminites from Jamin, the family of the Jachinites from Jachin, the family of the Zerahites from Zerah, the family of the Shaulites from Shaul. These were the families of the Simeonites, 22,200. The descendants of Gad according to their families, the family of Zephonites from Zephon, the family of Haggites from Haggi, the family of the Shunites from Shuni, the family of the Oznites from Ozni, the family of the Erites from Eri, the family of the Arodites from Arod, the family of the Arelites from Areli. These were families of Gad according to those of them counted, 40,500. The sons of Judah were Er and Onan, but Er and Onan died in the land of Canaan. The descendants of Judah according to their families, the families of the Shelonites from Shelach, the family of the Perizzites from Perez, the family of Zerachites from Zerah. The descendants of Perez were the family of Hezronites from Hezron, the family of the Hamulites from Hamul. These were the families of Judah, according to those of them counted, 76,500. The descendants of Issachar, according to their families, the family of the Toalites from Tola, the family of the Punites from Puvah, the family of Jashubites from Jashub, the family of the Shimronites from Shimron. These were the families of Issachar, according to those of them counted, 64,300. The descendants of Zebulun, according to their families, the family of the Sardites from Sered, the family of the Elonites from Elon, the family of the Jahilites from Jalil. These were the families of Zebulun, according to those of them counted, 60,500. The descendants of Joseph, according to their families, Manasseh and Ephraim. The descendants of Manasseh, the family of the Machirites from Machir, and Machir's son was Gilead, the family of Gileadites from Gilead. These were the family of the descendants of Gilead, the family of the Lezerites from Lezer, the family of the Helekites from Helek, the family of the Asrielites from Asriel, the family of the Shechemites from Shechem, the family of the Shemidites from Shemida, the family of Heferites from Hefer. Now, Zelophehad, the son of Hefer, had no sons, only daughters, and the names of Zelophehad's daughters were Machlan, Noah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Tirzah. These were families of Manasseh, and those of them counted were 52,700. These were the descendants of Ephraim according to their families. The family of the Shultanites from Shutelah, the family of the Bachrites from Becher, the family of the Tahanites from Tahan. And these were the descendants of Shuthelah, the family of Eranites from Eran. These were the families of the descendants of Ephraim, according to those of them counted, 32,500. These were the descendants of Joseph, according to their families. The descendants of Benjamin, according to their families, the family of the Belites from Bela, the family of the Ashbelites from Ashbel, the family of the Ahiramites from Ahiram, the family of the Shupamites from Shufam, the family of the Hufamites from Hufam. The sons of Bela were Ard and Naaman, the family of the Ardites from Ard, the family of the Naamites from Naaman. These were the descendants of Benjamin according to their families, and those of them counted were 45,600. The descendants of Dan according to their families, the family of the Shuhamites from Shuham, these were the families of Dan. All the Shuhamite families according to those of them counted were 64,400. The descendants of Asher according to their families, the family of Jimnah from Yimnah, the family of the Ishvites from Ishvi, the family of the Berites from Beriah. The descendants of Beriah, the family of the Heberites from Heber, the family of the Melchelites from Machiel. The name of Asher's daughter was Serah. These were the families of the descendants of Asher, according to those of them counted, 53,400. The descendants of Naphtali, according to their families, the family of the Jazielites from Jaziel, the family of the Gunites from Guni, the family of the Jezreelites from Jezer, the family of the Shilemites from Shilem. These were the families of Naphtali, according to their families, those of them counted were 45,400. These are those counted of the children of Israel, 601,730. All right, that was a very long portion, but we're always familiar with these many names and numbers going on once in a while. So this is essentially the fighting force of the children of Israel at this time as descended from the 12 tribes. Also a side note, one of them was disclosed as only having daughters. That will be relevant in a bit, but now we know. Another note, Judah seems to be the largest of their number. Another note, in the line of Judah, so his sons had died, right? But then he ultimately had the line of Perez follow that at some point. So remembering back when his sons, while he was out in his own little period of exile of sorts from his brothers, how his sons had died for not having born children to the woman whom the first son had married. It went down the line and so on. You can go back to previous weeks and find all of that in detail. Now moving on to the third portion, chapter 26 of Bamidbar, verse 52. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, You shall apportion the land among these in his inheritance, in accordance with the number of names. To the large tribe you shall give a larger inheritance, and to a smaller tribe you shall give a smaller inheritance. Each person shall be given an inheritance according to his number. Only through lot shall the land be apportioned. They shall inherit it according to the names of their fathers' tribes. The inheritance shall be apportioned between the numerous and the few, according to the lot. These were the numbers of the Levites according to their families: the family of the Gershonites from Gershon, the family of the Kohathites from Kohath, the family of the Merarites from Merari. These were the families of Levi, the families of the Libnites, the families of the Hebronites, the family of the Mahlites, the family of the Mushites, the family of the Korachites, and Kehat begot Amram. The name of Amram's wife was Yocheved, the daughter of Levi, whom her mother had borne to Levi in Egypt. She bore to Amram Aaron, Moses, and their sister Miriam. Born to Aaron were Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Itamar. Nadab and Abihu died when they offered up an unauthorized fire before the Lord. And those counted of them were 23,000, every male aged 1 month and upward, for they were not counted among the children of Israel, since no inheritance was given them among the children of Israel. This was the census of Moses and Eleazar the Kohen, who counted the children of Israel in the plains of Moab by the Jordan at Jericho. Among these there was no man who had been included in the census of Moses and Aaron when they counted the children of Israel in the Sinai desert. For the Lord had said to them, They shall surely die in the desert, and no one was left of them but Caleb the son of Jephunneh and Joshua the son of Nun. Chapter 27, verse 1. The daughters of Zelophehad, the son of Hepher, the son of Gilead, the son of Machir, the son of Manasseh, of the families of Manasseh, the son of Joseph, came forward, and his daughters' names were Machlah, Noah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Tirzah. They stood before Moses and before Eleazar the Kohen, and before the chieftains and the entire congregation at the entrance to the tent of meeting, saying, Our father died in the desert, but he was not in the assembly that banded together against the Lord in Korach's assembly, but he died for his own sin, and he had no sons. Why should our father's name be eliminated from his family because he had no son? Give us a portion along with our father's brothers. So Moses brought their case before the Lord. All right, so first up, at the end of this third portion, we've got the breakdown of how the land will be distributed. So it's going to be distributed as an inheritance by lots. So it's not going to be like you get first pick, you get second pick. It's going to be drawn by lot, who gets what land, and it's going to be given relative to their number. So, for example, the tribe of Judah is the biggest, so it would reasonably receive the most compared to all the other tribes. But from there, we also see that the Levites, their numerous amounts and names and all that, they do not get inheritance because theirs is not to be received of the land. They are to live among the different tribes. Now, from there, it also says that this was the census conducted by Moses and Eleazar, who counted them in the plains of Moab by the Jordan at Jericho. Compare that to the census that was conducted previously, which is explicitly where Moses and Aaron did the count at the Sinai desert. So that's why the numbers are different and why they're doing another census. Remember, the first time it was Moses and Aaron. Now Aaron is gone, and his son is now the Kohen, and this is nearing the end of their time in the desert, as we will hear. So the reason for this is the people who were counted this time are not those who were sentenced to die in the desert. So it says, no man who had been included in the census of Moses and Aaron when they counted the children of Israel in the Sinai desert. So remember, that one was also 20 and up. This is another one of people who are 20 and up, but excluding the old generation. So now we know who's included, with the exception of Caleb the son of Jephunneh and Joshua the son of Nun. Now on to Bamidbar chapter 27 details. We hear about the specific case of these daughters of one of the children of Manasseh who did not have sons, right? Their father had no sons. These girls had no brothers, and they were concerned that with their father dying, their lots, their apportioned inheritance would be lost because he had no sons. And so they said, why should our father's name be eliminated from his family because he had no son? Give us a portion along with our father's brothers. So this case will be brought to the supremest of courts, directly to God. Now we go on to the fourth portion, chapter 27 of Bamidbar, verse 6. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Zelophehad's daughters speak justly. You shall certainly give them a portion of inheritance along with their father's brothers, and you shall transfer their father's inheritance to them. Speak to the children of Israel, saying, If a man dies and has no son, you shall transfer his inheritance to his daughter. If he has no daughter, you shall give over his inheritance to his brothers. If he has no brothers, you shall give over his inheritance to his father's brothers. If his father has no brothers, You shall give over his inheritance to the kinsman closest to him in his family, who shall inherit it. This shall remain a decreed statute, as the Lord commanded Moses. The Lord said to Moses, Go up to this Mount Abarim, and look at the land that I have given to the children of Israel. And when you have seen it, you too will be gathered to your people, just as Aaron your brother was gathered. Because you disobeyed my command in the desert of Zin, when the congregation quarreled, when you were to sanctify me through the water before their eyes. These were the waters of dispute at Kadesh, in the desert of Zin. Moses spoke to the Lord, saying, Let the Lord, the God of spirits of all flesh, appoint a man over the congregation, who will go forth before them, and come before them, who will lead them out and bring them in, so that the congregation of the Lord will not be like sheep without a shepherd. The Lord said to Moses, Take for yourself Joshua the son of Nun, a man of spirit, and you shall lay your hand upon him, and you shall present him before Eleazar the Kohen, and before the entire congregation, and you shall command him in their presence. You shall bestow some of your majesty upon him, so that all the congregation of the children of Israel will take heed. He shall stand before Eleazar the Kohen, and seek counsel from him through the judgment of the Urim before the Lord. By his word they shall go, and by his word they shall come, he and all Israel with him, and the entire congregation. Moses did as the Lord had commanded him, and he took Joshua and presented him before Eleazar the Kohen, and before the entire congregation. He laid his hands upon him and commanded him, in accordance with what the Lord had spoken to Moses. All right, there's the end of the fourth portion. So first, we get the ruling directly from above that the daughters have a very valid case, and so this sets a precedent from now on forever that if a man dies with no son, his inheritance will go to the daughters. If he has no daughters, then the inheritance goes to his brothers. And if he has no brothers, then his father's brothers. So essentially, in modern comparison here, let's say a person dies without any sons, but they have a daughter, their daughter will inherit everything. If they have no son or no daughter, then it will go to their brother. So let's say if your dad, let's say you're a girl, your father has a brother and a sister, then of the three, you would get priority. So the order is basically sons, then daughters, and then after them, brothers of the deceased father, so your uncle, and if they are not around or they don't exist, then it goes to your father's father's, so your great uncle. So it basically, in this breakdown, it only goes to women in the family if they are the daughter. But if it is not the daughter, then in all other cases, it either goes to a brother or an uncle. So there you have it. That is the official decree. So now that we've covered that, the Lord speaks to Moses again, and this portion gave me some chills when I was reading it. He's telling him, Moses, you're going to die. You're going to go up to this mountain. You're going to look over the land that I promised to the people. And then after you have seen it, you will be following in your brother's footsteps and die. Moses does not say anything objecting to this. God explains it's because you disobeyed me and my command when I gave you the command at the desert of Zin, and you did not obey the waters of dispute. That is the punishment. Moses simply says, assign somebody to take my place. Put someone in charge so that the people will not be like a shepherd, or will not be like a flock without a shepherd. And so at this, God agrees, and he says, you will appoint Joshua. Go, lay your hands upon him, transfer some of your majesty, is the language used here in English. You shall bestow some of your majesty upon him as you present him before Eleazar the Kohen, and all the congregation of Israel will take heed. And so then from there, they will follow and listen to Joshua. And so Moses obeys, and he brings his protege Joshua before Eleazar and before the congregation, lays his hands upon him, and does as what the Lord had commanded, thus naming him the official successor after Moses will be gone. Now on to the fifth portion, chapter 28, verse 1 of Bamidbar. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel, and say to them, My offering, my food for my fire offerings, a spirit of satisfaction for me, you shall take care to offer me at its appointed time. And you shall say to them, This is the fire offering which you shall offer to the Lord, 2 unblemished lambs in their first year, each day as a continual burnt offering. The one lamb you shall offer up in the morning, and the other lamb you shall offer up in the afternoon. And 1/10 of an ephah of fine flour for a meal offering, mixed with a corner of a hin of crushed olive oil. A continual burnt offering, as the one offered up at Mount Sinai for a spirit of satisfaction, a fire offering to the Lord. Its libation shall be 1/4 of a hin for each lamb, to be poured on the holy altar as a libation of strong wine to the Lord. And the second lamb you shall offer up in the afternoon. You shall offer it up with the same meal offering and libation as the morning sacrifice, a fire offering with a spirit of satisfaction to the Lord. And on the Sabbath day 2 unblemished lambs in the first year, and 2/10 of an ephah of fine flour as a meal offering, mixed with oil and its libation. This is the burnt offering of each Sabbath on its Sabbath, in addition to the continual burnt offering and its libation. And on the beginning of your months you shall offer up a burnt offering to the Lord, 2 young bulls, 1 ram, and 7 lambs in the first year, all unblemished, 3/10 of an ephah of fine flour as a meal offering, mixed with oil for each bull, and 2/10 of an ephah of fine flour as a meal offering, mixed with oil for each ram, and 1/10 of an ephah of fine flour mixed with oil as a meal offering for each lamb, a burnt offering with a spirit of satisfaction, a fire offering to the Lord. And their libations, 1/2 of a hin for each bull, 1/3 of a hin for each ram, and 1/4 of a hin for each lamb wine. This is the burnt offering of each new month in its month throughout the months of the year. And 1 young male goat for a sin offering to the Lord. It shall be offered up in addition to the continual burnt offering and its libation. All right, so there we have the 5th portion. It's just a very specific command that you will be giving me an offering. You'll be making this offering at its appointed time consistently. It's going to be the fire offering, so we get the breakdown of what particularly it is. I will not be rereading all of this, but do keep in mind, this does give the specific commands for the congregation to use once they get in. And it says, and their libations. So I think this is kind of interesting, the specification of and their libations. So, the wine, who's this for? It's for the Kohanim, right? They're going to get their portion of it, surely. So it's just, a little reminder that not only does this go to above with the offering, but a portion of it is set aside for the Kohanim to eat. Now on to the 6th portion. Chapter 28 of Bamidbar, verse 16. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month, you shall offer up a Passover offering to the Lord. On the 15th day of this month, a festival begins. You shall eat unleavened bread for 7 days. On the first day is a holy convocation. You shall not perform any mundane work. You shall offer up a fire offering, a burnt offering to the Lord. 2 young bulls, 1 ram, and 7 lambs in the first year. They shall be unblemished for you. Their meal offering shall be fine flour mixed with oil. 3/10 for each bull, and 2/10 for the ram you shall offer up. And you shall offer up 1/10 for each lamb, for all 7 lambs, and 1 young male goat for a sin offering to atone for you. You shall offer these up besides the morning burnt offering, which is offered as a continual burnt offering. Like these you shall offer up daily for 7 days, food of the fire offering, a spirit of satisfaction to the Lord. You shall offer up this in addition to the continual burnt offering and its libation. The 7th day shall be a holy convocation for you. You shall not perform any mundane work. On the day of the first fruits, when you offer up a new meal offering to the Lord, on your festival of weeks, it shall be a holy convocation for you, and you shall not perform any mundane work. You shall offer up a burnt offering with a spirit of satisfaction to the Lord, 2 young bulls, 1 ram, and 7 lambs in the first year. Their meal offering shall be fine flour mixed with oil, 3/10 for each bull, and 2/10 for the ram, 1/10 for each lamb, for all 7 lambs, 1 young male goat to atone for you. You shall offer this up besides the continual burnt offering, and its meal offering they shall be unblemished for you, as well as their libations. Chapter 29, verse 1. And in the 7th month, on the first day, there shall be a holy convocation for you. You shall not perform any mundane work. It shall be a day of shofar sounding for you. You shall offer up a burnt offering for a spirit of satisfaction to the Lord, 1 young bull, 1 ram, and 7 lambs in the first year, all unblemished. And their meal offering shall be fine flour mixed with oil, 3/10 for the bull, and 2/10 for the ram, and 1/10 for each lamb for the 7 lambs, and 1 young male goat as a sin offering to atone for you. This is besides the burnt offering of the new month and its meal offering, and the continual burnt offering and its meal offering, and their libations as prescribed for them, as a spirit of satisfaction, a fire offering to the Lord. And on the 10th day of the 7th month there shall be a holy convocation for you, and you shall afflict your souls. You shall not perform any work. You shall offer up a burnt offering to the Lord for a spirit of satisfaction, 1 young bull, 1 ram, and 7 lambs in the first year. They shall all be unblemished. And their meal offering shall be fine flour mixed with oil, 3/10 for the bull, and 2/10 for the ram, 1/10 for each lamb, for the 7 lambs, a young male goat for a sin offering, besides the atonement sin offering and the continual burnt offering, its meal offering, and their libations. All right, so that concludes the 6th portion. For those noticing some of the timings and the references here, we are seeing Passover, we're seeing the high holy days, right? We just at the end heard of Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah, Sukkot, Shavuot, right? We see these high holy days in terms of the calendar days, right? So there you have it. We are seeing these specific sacrifice commands as dictated by the Lord in addition to the standard offerings and what people shall do during those times. Now moving on to the 7th portion, chapter 29 of Bamidbar, verse 12. And on the 15th day of the 7th month there shall be a holy convocation for you. You shall not perform any mundane work, and you shall celebrate a festival to the Lord for 7 days. You shall offer up a burnt offering, a fire offering for a spirit of satisfaction to the Lord, 13 young bulls, 2 rams, 14 lambs in the first year. They shall all be unblemished. And their meal offering shall be fine flour mixed with oil, 3/10 for each bull for the 13 bulls, 2/10 for each ram and for the 2 rams, and 1/10 for each lamb for the 14 lambs, and 1 young male goat for a sin offering, besides the continual burnt offering, its meal offering, and its libation. And on the 2nd day 12 young bulls, 2 rams, and 14 lambs in the first year, all unblemished. And their meal offerings and their libations for the bulls, for the rams, and for the lambs, according to their number, as prescribed. And 1 young male goat for a sin offering, besides the continual burnt offering, its meal offering, and their libations. And on the 3rd day 11 bulls, 2 rams, and 14 lambs in the first year, all unblemished. And their meal offerings and their libations for the bulls, for the rams, and for the lambs, according to their number, as prescribed. And 1 young male goat for a sin offering, besides the continual burnt offering, its meal offering, and its libation. And on the 4th day 10 bulls, 2 rams, and 14 lambs in the first year, all unblemished. Their meal offerings and their libations for the bulls, for the rams, and for the lambs, according to their number, as prescribed. And 1 young male goat for a sin offering, besides the continual burnt offering, its meal offering, and its libation. And on the 5th day 9 bulls, 2 rams, and 14 lambs in the first year, all unblemished, and their meal offerings and their libations for the bulls, for the rams, for the lambs, according to their number, as prescribed. And 1 young male goat for a sin offering, besides the continual burnt offering, its meal offering, and its libation. And on the 6th day 8 bulls, 2 rams, and 14 lambs in the first year, all unblemished. And their meal offerings and their libations for the bulls, for the rams, and for the lambs, according to their number, as prescribed. And 1 young male goat for a sin offering, besides the continual burnt offering, its meal offering, and its libations. And on the 7th day 7 bulls, 2 rams, and 14 lambs in the first year, and their meal offerings and their libations for the bulls, for the rams, and for the lambs, according to their number, as prescribed for them. 1 young male goat for a sin offering, besides the continual burnt offering, its meal offering, and its libation. The 8th day shall be a time of restriction for you. You shall not perform any mundane work. You shall offer up a burnt offering, a fire offering for a spirit of satisfaction to the Lord, 1 bull, 1 ram, and 7 lambs in the first year, all unblemished. Their meal offerings and their libations for the bulls, for the rams, and for the lambs, according to their number, as prescribed. And 1 young male goat for a sin offering, besides the continual burnt offering, its meal offering, and its libation. These you shall offer up for the Lord on your festivals, besides your vows and voluntary offerings, for your burnt offerings, for your meal offerings, for your libations, and for your peace offerings. Chapter 30, Bamidbar, verse 1. Moses spoke to the children of Israel in accordance with all that the Lord had commanded Moses. All right, and there we have it. That's the end of this week's portion, along with the end of the 7th portion. So here we have the 15th day of the 7th month, right, is what this is explicitly talking about. This was quite a lot. So it's each day, this 8-day-long adventure for a 7-day-long celebration, festival to the Lord. So now we get to see all of the different offerings that must be made on each given day. And then at the end of it, on the 8th day, right, that's the end of the festival, it's a day of restriction. So don't perform any mundane work. And then, of course, the offering there. So, man, that was a lot. That one, really. So the 15th day of the 7th month. And thanks to me having some resources nearby, those 7 days following Sukkot are Shmini Atzeret. So that is where this all goes down and when that takes place. So now we have the long list of different holidays that are included. So as this is all being passed on to the next generation, right? None of this is new information per se in terms of the holidays, the high holy days, right? We've been over them before. But why is this happening? Well, this is part of Moses' farewell address to the people of the next generation. So we're seeing a generational transition, a generational turnover from the old people of Israel to the next generation of the people of Israel who will be going into the desert. So now Moses is preparing them to take over these traditions that their parents were expected to follow. He's making sure all the new people who may not have been born at that time, they're all going to receive this update. So all in all, this is quite an extensive portion, though not the longest in terms of episode minutes. It is definitely a lot of information on its head, on its own. Some of the most notable things, right? So Pinchas being appointed, or rather being consecrated for having done what he did by slaying the Israelites who had invoked God's anger upon all the people, along with the Israelites themselves who had been doing so. He ended the plague, and so now we know God said, hey, good job, I'm rewarding your whole entire bloodline for this. Beyond that, we've also got mentions of what happens as far as breaking down who gets what inheritance, and also an official decree when a man does not have any sons who receives the inheritance. So that is now clearly established according to the lineage there. And one could assume as you go up the line, if the man has no other family whatsoever, there's a very likely chance that that will go to the Kohanim, as that has been established previously. That's just me speculating. That may not be the case. We're going to stick with just the immediate decree, which is first it goes to the son. If no son, then it goes to the daughters. If no daughters or sons, it goes to the brother of the deceased. And if that person has no brother, it goes to the uncle. It goes up the line, right? Back up the line. So father, uncle. So there you have it. We now know where the inheritance goes in the family tree. Well, quite a bit here. The last thing I'll also mention, the appointment of Joshua is one thing, but Moses being told your time is up soon. That is, to me, every time I review Moses' life coming toward the end, it's really harrowing. And remember, they've been condemned to march in the desert until that whole old generation is gone. So there's actually a really big time skip that happened between them arriving right before Korach, right when they arrive, and then the spies give the false report. Now we've just jumped ahead like 40 years. So it's a huge time skip that isn't wholly acknowledged per se. At least not. It doesn't feel like 40 years compared to all the other times, which are kind of like on a week-to-week basis. This is all the final speeches of Moses, including the final heads up before he says goodbye. And that, like I said, the whole thing with him saying goodbye, or rather being told your time is coming to an end, it scares me. It scares me. It makes me feel sad because Moses has done so much and given so much and worked so hard on behalf of the people and on behalf of the Lord. And knowing that his time, not even he is safe from God's wrath for disobeying him, is a very important message to be taken. Nonetheless, that time has not come yet, but now he and we know it shall come soon. Until next time, this has been Shmuel Moshe with the Weekly Parashahcast. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you found this episode informative, and if you'd like to learn more, you can always check out some of the previous episodes, and I hope you'll tune in next time. Until then, once again, Shmuel Moshe saying farewell on the Weekly Parashahcast, and until next time, Baruch Hashem.